The machine guns were also designed, I designed them so that they could be printed again without supports. They'd rest on this flat bottom here, on this curvature, which matches the top of the fuselage in front of the cockpit on the Flite Test Scout XL. And these pins or barbs will press down into the foam and provide a bit more secure of a fit there. So the motor cell was designed to be printed in one piece without any supports. 3mm lock nuts would drop down into each of these 6 cavities here, and the 3mm screws would go through these side holes. Now this piece here can be made, I made mine out of 3mm plywood, but you could probably print it out of PETG. 3mm thick, drops right down into this slot here. PETG is probably recommended because the motor may generate some heat, but that's why I use plywood, because that's going to be better for the heat as well of the motor. Then the side engine covers would be outside of the foam board, and the bolts would go right through these holes here that are counterbore for the socket head cap screws. And then these little pins would be printed separately, and those would go on counterbores in the bottom here. So these would kind of make an impression in the foam and act as a spacer and an alignment pins for the screws to go into the motor cell. There's slots here for Velcro straps for your battery, which be mounted on the bottom half. I'm using an AJ laser cutter to cut out this motor mount out of 3mm plywood. Again, I chose to print it out of plywood instead of using PETG filament. And it does a great job. It does it in about 4 or 5 passes, cuts it really cleanly. It's a great tool to have. This is the first flight test plane I've taken the plans and actually used the laser cutter to trace it out into the foam board. Now it won't cut all the way through the flight test foam board, but it will cut deep enough and leave a really good score mark that you can easily cut it out with an X-Acto knife. So it's going to be a tool I'm going to be using more and more on some of these builds.